Hey, Michael Sean Corby here with a tutorial on how to teach your clients how to cut their husband's hair or anyone's short hair. So hopefully they've got someone around the house that can help them out. This isn't the forever option. It's never gonna be as good as seeing your barber or your stylist, but it can get you by if your hair is looking a little less than desirable at this time. You're just gonna need a simple clipper with an up and down lever on it. This one's made by Wall. And then you're gonna need the attachments that go with it. They're numbered usually from like 1 to number 7. We're gonna use numbers 5 all the way down to 1 today. Now, to start this look, I needed to section all the longer hair away on Martin today so that I can work in all the shorter stuff that needs to happen so that he's not gonna be so full and thick looking on the sides. Instead of taking a bunch of little clips, which I know a lot of you don't have at home anyway, I just used a simple elastic band. I find it works just as well, and it's a nice way to just hold all the hair very tightly as you're working. Oops, we got big things. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do is I like to start at the very back. So I'm gonna have Martin turn all the way around here. And what I'm going to do is I'm gonna start with a clipper that is much bigger than I think I need. So I'm gonna go all the way up to a number 5 on this one so that I'm sure it's not going to cut too much. Holding it, you see this flat side there? Just hold that directly up against the head. And remember, start big and work your way down to the smaller numbers. With the head up, I'm just gonna go in an upward direction. And as soon as I start feeling like the head is curving away, that's called the occipital bone, I'm gonna stop at that point. So just cutting in that upward direction to that point, up, up, up. Now, even though this is one of the larger attachments, you can see that it's already starting to lay down. And if you wanted to stop there, if you needed to stop there, you really could, because you know what? No need to keep going on just trying to make it not look so bad. I'm gonna turn you just a little bit that way and I'm gonna continue. Now, we've got a good start at the back there, but ultimately, you know, maybe your husband or your boyfriend's used to more of a fade. So we're gonna go a little bit shorter. So we had a number 5. We're now gonna go down to a number 4. Perfect. Now that's looking really nice. And so now we're going to take and use the number 2. Try now not to just keep recutting the same hair. Now what you want to do is you want to start low and then you just want to come up to about halfway of the distance you've been doing. And as you get to that halfway point, lift off and away. Up, off and away. Up, off and away. Up, off and away. Up and away, up, because you don't want to keep cutting the same exact hair. If you have hairs growing in different directions, you can just take the clipper in that direction, sort of working against the growth. So that takes all that down nice and short. Okay, so now I'm pretty happy with that. I think it's looking nice. So now we're gonna work on some of the side panels. Again, we're gonna start with the larger attachment. And for this, I'm actually gonna comb the hair in a downward direction as well. Starting at the bottom, letting that hair push it down. And then right at about the temple, I'm allowing the comb to hold that down so I can't go any further. Can't go any further. I find that the comb is a good way of just making sure you don't go too far. See already, that's giving a nice soft blend on the sides there. Coming up, making sure we don't go too far. Now you can have whoever you're working on hold down the ear. Us experts don't usually need it, but just say, could you hold down your ear? We're all working together, right? Now you can do the same technique all the way around. Up, pushing from the top, and then protecting it from going too far. Everyone's helping out. Really just watch that line as you're coming around. If you want to go a little higher, you can. It's really using a lot of your visualization to see when you've hit exactly the right spot. Okay, you can let go of your ear. You can see all that is really getting a nice taper there. It's still a little bit long right there at the very bottom. Switch to the number 2. Remember, you can always go shorter. It gets a little more complicated when you want to put it back. Just kind of touching those edges just a little bit with the number 2. Now, there are little tiny hairs in through here that I know some of you may say, how do I get rid of those little hairs? I'm going to use a scissor to do it, but I'll show you a different way you can do it if you don't have as many tools at home. All right, now I'm going to repeat the same thing on the opposite side. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this scissor and I'm just going to cut the line. It's just like you're just drawing around the area. Just get those little hairs. And only take as many as you need, just tiny little snips. And that will clean it up. Make sure you don't cut too high because, well, then we call those white wall tires. If you don't have scissors like I used on the previous side, it's pretty easy to just use your clippers when you turn it on. But as you're doing it, make sure that you're just gently touching with the edge of it. And really you can work downward with it. Sorry, so you can see down like this, as opposed to scraping like this, because you have to be careful because these can get a bit dodgy if you get someone's ear in there. So I think it's better to think of it as downward movements. Be patient with it. So remember, we're not taking this end and going around. We're going down like this. Now you might have a small beard trimmer or something that will work even better for this area. And there you go, cleaned up almost as well. Let's do the side here as well. Never go like this, right? Never turn it this way and go rah, rah. Keep it this way and just tap. Okay. All right, so now we see we've got everything settled in there. Now one thing I think you should invest in is just a It's called a thinning shear. Has a lot of little serrated teeth and then one cutting blade. Just to prove the point, I found these on Amazon. They're very inexpensive. I want to say they didn't even cost $10. So good way to give a nice blend to just this ridge here. So we're up, we use it a couple times, and then we move away. Comb it down, in, and move away. I'll continue like this all the way around. Okay, now that I've done that, just here I want to soften the very bottom so you can use that same thinning shear. And we call this scissor over comb. So show your clients how to put the comb underneath, how to softly fade. Okay, now we're ready to drop the rest of the back and blend it into the cut. For this, I want to wet the hair down a little bit. Okay, so the simplest way to do this is you can see where that line is above. So just bring this to that line and just gently tap along. See, it will just blend in. Hold it to that line. Same exact line. You're not taking off a lot in Martin's case. And tap it. Now, just split that in half. Push it to each side. Do the same thing. Pulling it, look at that line underneath. Just holding tightly in your fingers, pulling it to the side. Just following that same line. Now, if this is too strong when we pull it down, now what we can do is we can just elevate it, it's called. Just elevating that a little bit, and then you can go in and just cut like jack-o'-lantern teeth, just points. Comb it down, and you'll see it just lifts perfect. And then we soften with a texturizing shear. I have lots of stuff, so I'm going to use a chunkier one this time. What I'd like to do first is, so we're not dealing with too much hair all at once, I'm just going to take this little man bun we had going on and I'm going to split it into 2 sections. Okay, splitting it down the middle again. And bring it to the same line. This time we're just getting everything a little bit more straight off the head. And we're gonna go right in, right after, get those jack-o'-lantern teeth. Otherwise known as point cutting. All right, now it's time to work on the front. So we're gonna comb everything into the style. You see it's long on top, which is what a lot of people still want to maintain. I'm going to split the hair in the middle. And now for this, we want it to be a bit longer in the front. And so now that it's split in the middle, I'm just going to follow that down, but I'm trying to keep it longer. So I want it to hit right there at about the sideburn. So let's start at the sideburn because it makes it easier. And then you're trying to get up to that original line. See that? That's your guide right there. So it's giving a nice blend. Martin's still gonna have that length in the front. It's laying down nicely in the back, and it's very simple. We used a number 5, we used a number 4, we used a number 3. We're watching, making sure we don't keep going up to the same height with every single thing we do. And then you just bring all the hair to that line and then give it, I like to say, I guess pumpkin teeth is not good. Let's give it shark teeth. Shark teeth sounds much better. Now, what we need to do is just take everything to one side, making sure you don't have anything you don't like, and just look for any little hairs, any slight little hairs, but we don't have any. Take it this side. See if you've got anything you don't like. Nothing hanging over. There's just a tiny tip there. And there's really nothing else to do because you've already cut the back and you want it to have a bit of weight to it. Otherwise, this is gonna stick up and it's gonna look very 80s. So now the only thing left to do, depending on your skill level and depending on how many tools you have, is going to be to soften these edges. Now, since I have lots of tools and I'm pretty experienced at doing this, I'm going to use my clipper to go a little shorter just at the very bottom, just to soften that some more. And again, notice I'm not going like that, just going gently tapping into it. And then once I've done that, I don't like that to be the final thing. I then like to take my comb and my scissor and just taper it down a little bit more. You're gonna need a flatter comb for this, just so it's not so long there. One thing you gotta remember, and this is why it's important you stick with your stylists and barbers, is everybody's hairline is a little different on the sides. So err on the side of caution, less is more, and you should be okay. And same thing on the back neckline. And there you have it, a simple, easy to do men's haircut that's right on trend. Nice blend, simple, easy to use. Clippers, start with the bigger numbers, work to the lower numbers until you have a taper or a tailor that looks nice and clean. Bring everything to a line and then shark teeth into it to soften that line. And the tool I think you need to get beyond the clippers is just an inexpensive thinning shear as well to blend away all your mistakes. This is Michael Sean Corby, and this is your tip of the day for Men's Hair Cutting 101. See you next time.